and it doesn't make sense to me. Oh, now you're recording. It doesn't make sense to me because it's like, I don't get what oh my gosh, hold on. See, this is why I was not ready to be recorded. Ugh.
Oh, okay. Well,
Um,
I can stop the
no, you're
recording.
fine.
Yeah. Oh,
You're
okay.
fine. I
Yeah.
trust you're not gonna
I
put
don't know
this part of
Zoom
the
very
video in
well.
it.
Usually, when we're having a meeting, Jason handles the Zoom end of things. I don't know very well, but it's pretty cool. I set my filters up. I have a progress flag background, as you should be able to see.
Yeah, it would be better if my light could just sit here, but I don't think I can prop it up. It's not cooperating. Nope, not cooperating. I need to come up with a better like layout for my room.
Yeah, well, I can't criticize. My bedroom is actually a storage room for my mom's boxes of stuff, and it's a
I
long
feel like
story.
that's good enough, right?
Hey, your area looks better than my area would if I didn't have a filter background. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. I'll go with this. This is fine. But yeah,
Okay.
so I don't really understand what the point of RPLA is. I don't know if we're supposed to be like a social type, what? Oh, sorry. I don't know if we're supposed to be like a social group. Okay, I need to put on do not disturb. These people do not realize I have ADHD and they're blowing up my phone.
Yeah,
Um,
and I should silence my phone too. I just had it on in case I got any texts from you.
So, anyways, I don't understand what we're doing because are we an activist group or are we a social group? Or I guess are we both? That's definitely a possibility. But right now we're neither. Like,
Yeah.
we're not doing any activism, and we're having a fit about the only social aspect of the group. Um, I don't really know what the point is, and I'm kind of at a point, I guess, where I'm just like, why am I wasting my time? Like, this is just ridiculous. Um, Kitty, knock it off. Go play. Have a fucking party. Get out of here. Um, so yeah. I didn't say smell the back of my laptop. I said go have a party, as in go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
this cat is driving me crazy. But yeah, so like what do you like what do you think the point of RPLA is at this point? Like honestly, like what are
I think it's incredibly unclear as well because I have my ideas of what I think it should be, and I know you do as well, obviously. And I was thinking, obviously, there's a lot of things that both you and I believe that the rest of the board members are not going to be down with. And I'm not saying people have to agree on everything, but I feel like when you try to narrow down to only LGBT issues and only abortion, you can't do that because everything is all interconnected. That gets into religion, it gets into
Mhm.
politics, it gets into your personal experiences, it gets into ethics and philosophy. And okay, here's what I love about you, Anastasia, is you get shit done. Okay, you're not afraid to talk about things, and I love how active you are on social media. Like you know social media far better than I do. You've got so many Instagram videos. You know how it all the system all works, and you're not afraid to talk about the things that are controversial. And
Mhm.
for example, you know how that thing that I posted and you commented on, it was a big old thing I wrote and I sent to the LPA. Well, I also tried to post that on my OnlyFans because I have an OnlyFans account that like nobody knows exists, but I kind of put stuff on there just to another writing backup, sort of, if you will. But it banned it. It said it contained restricted words. Okay. And so
What were the restricted
have,
words? Is
have
Palestine
fun
or Israel
guessing.
a restricted word?
Have fun guessing which word it was restricted. I mean, it contained the word Palestine. Was that the restricted word?
That's the only that's the only thing I can think of.
I know, right? That, or maybe it was pro-life because there's one platform that pro-life will censor. It'll censor out the word abortion, like I mentioned that even my Facebook ads got censored because part of my book where I was talking to Honesty the Unicorn, I was talking about how I felt about abortion, but certain words you're not allowed to say, and there is a real freedom of speech issue. And as you know from the whole Signal chat, you know how I stand for free speech. And what I didn't like is that people talked over you and tried to shut you up when you brought up issues that need to be talked about. And I wanted
Hmm.
to listen, but I couldn't listen because they wouldn't shut up. And so there are certain board members I am really not happy with, you know,
Yeah.
and that's why I felt it very necessary. And I've been trying to contact you for us to do a podcast and have a talk, just the two of us, for some time, because we have so many things to talk about. And I also think there's so many other elements that are at play here that people are afraid to touch, like the topic of religion. Not everybody has to be the same religion to be pro-life. And believe me, I know plenty of religious and secular pro-lifers. There's a way to ground it in either, depending on what you happen to be. Everyone has their own different flavor, if you will. But people are afraid to talk about these issues. Like, for example, let's talk about how some people they think they have to circumcise their children based on certain religious texts and stuff like that. Why can't we talk about that? Why can't we talk about people policies as it relates to war, or what our policies might be if abortion is made illegal? What penalties should there be? There are all these things that even pro-lifers are afraid to talk about. And then here's the thing that makes Rainbow Pro-Life Alliance extremely weird. Okay, is because we're so gay. No other way to put it. We're just so gay. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, it should be a safe space for people who are LGBTQIA to be pro-life without having some Christian yelling at them their abomination going to hell. And believe me, I've gone through plenty of that myself, and I don't even get out much, But the thing about it is, I don't want to. I guess because there's so many things misunderstood about people who are pro-life, so many things misunderstood about the rainbow people, as I call us, and vegans. There's all this false information, all these memes that are full of false information, and like the meme that pro-lifers are all old, rich, white Republican men, and nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, first of all, there's more women that are pro-life, and I'm just speaking about sex-based, not gender identity. There's more females that are pro-life than males, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that. They're just generally more compassionate, that kind of thing, and there's cultural and biological reasons for that. And the same is true of vegans also, from what I understand. But people believe all these false things, and I feel like we need to challenge that. But it's not going to get challenged when you have certain people who want to shut down and say that it's agreed upon that we're not going to discuss something when it wasn't agreed upon. People say we vote on things that we did not in fact vote on. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, and there needs to be more in writing. There needs to be
Yeah.
actual rules in writing about what was actually said, because nobody seems to remember what was said. And see, the idea
Yeah.
that there
And
was,
like,
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
was just gonna
go,
say, and like, it's like we have so many things. Like one thing, for example, like I'm relatively good at taking notes during meetings. It's something, I mean, it's not fun, but it's something I've been doing for years for various like groups. Like, and I offered to take notes at the meetings, and they were like, no, we're gonna have the vice presidents do it. And I'm like, I mean, okay, I'm not gonna fight you about offering to do extra work. But now it's like, but where are these notes? And like I have a very like specific way of taking notes that I'm very detailed. Like in a meeting like that, I write down everything that happens. Like if Chastity says like if you chime in and say like a story, I'll like summarize it in a sentence. I'll put Chastity and then like a sentence of what you said, and then I'll say Hayden, a sentence of what he says.
yeah,
Jason, sounds good, Anna. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. I'll put it like basically as a script of what happened, and like I think it makes it very easy to go over the notes later if needed. Usually people don't even look at the notes, so it's half a waste of time, but sometimes they want to. And I'm like, where are these notes that are being taken? And are they
Yeah.
even good? Because I'm like, I don't, it doesn't look like anyone's taking notes.
Well,
Like, I'm just
yeah,
like, I'm so,
it's probably notes that nobody's ever going to see. So what's the point? The person most qualified to do it, who's actually good at it, should be doing it, not just somebody because, say, the president or something like that. Whatever, you know.
I also think our entire leadership, like, I just think like after October, like the whole entire leadership needs to change. Like, it's like the whole, to me, it's just infuriating the way that things are going down, and like that. I don't know how much of this I should like dive into, to be honest, but
Right? Because
it's just
yeah,
infuriating that, yeah, like it's infuriating that like we're not the group I thought we were when I joined it, and it's
yeah,
like I don't, I low key, I like, I don't want some of the people who are on the board, even on the board, let alone in specific positions. And I'm just like, and I'm sure there's people who don't want me on the board. And it's like at the end of the day, like I'm not even bought. If people want to take me off the board, like
it,
please,
yeah.
please take the only person off this board who has a personal connection to this issue because they won't stop talking about it. Nobody else on the board has any personal connection to the Middle East besides me. And it's like, I don't understand why you all are like, and I'm not saying that that makes me more important. Like, don't
Right,
get it, like, if this is posted anywhere. I'm like, don't get this
right.
like twisted. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah,
What I'm saying is my, like, the things I say are like very well, like maybe I'll ramble at the time, but like in my head, there are things I've considered for a very long time. And it's like most of the people just have this gut reaction of like, let's just avoid it, let's just ignore it, or like, let's just be
right.
whatever, knowing the
Exactly. And
story.
that has
And it's
never
just
been my
like,
style. That has never been my
yeah, and I'm
style to
just
avoid
like,
the issue.
yeah, and I totally get if people, I mean, at this point, I kind of don't get it, but like near the beginning, I mean, I kind of get if people like haven't looked into it or don't really like know what's going on or like whatever. But 6 months later, like there's been time to research it. And I feel like it's really simple. Like, at least to me, like, do you support, even putting it not in extreme terms, do you support a country bombing another country pretty much indisputably, just as like, even if you're going to call it self-defense, like the collective punishment, like
Yeah,
for this attack, even if
yeah,
we put it in the most like non like polarizing terms, which I think is watering it down to
yeah,
hell, to be honest. But
yeah,
let's say we water
absolutely.
it down to hell.
Yeah,
How can you still support that? Like, I just don't get it. Like, even watered down, you're supporting the self defense of bombing an entire country because of a small group that attacked it. Even if you consider that small group to be like the government, which I guess you could have like an argument as such, I
yeah.
suppose.
Let
But,
me, let me,
but like,
like,
even still, it's collective punishment, you know?
yeah, yeah. Let me make an analogy, okay? Because okay, I don't what do I know about the Middle East? Nothing. But at least I admit that I know nothing about it. I've tried to read some stuff. I've tried to watch a few videos since I met you and I heard you talking about it. But bottom line is I just came to realize, well, it's actually very simple. I don't support bombing under any circumstances. Here's what it's like to me. Okay, consider a self-defense or a justice scenario. For example, and this is personal, but this isn't any big secret, okay? You have to understand I was molested by my brother when I was 2 years old, okay? So what if because of this, whether for revenge or justice or self-defense or whatever reason, I decided, well, let me bomb my brother's house. And by doing so, kill his whole family. Well, even if he's guilty, that doesn't mean that I want the innocents to die along with the guilty. So even if you believe in self-defense and you have a just war theory, which I don't, I still can't justify bombing. I can't justify the mass slaughter and bombing it in the war situations as what people are doing. So I know I don't support that, and I don't have to know everything that you know to at least come to that conclusion. But here's what I didn't like is as soon as he's brought up the topic at all, then there's several board members are just trying to shut you up, and then they start these big fights because they'll take what you say and they'll react to that and then stop listening to what you're actually saying. And it was a huge wreck. Things stressed me out, and I'm very disappointed in certain people. But I don't want
Mhm.
it to be I don't want our whole talk to just be, talking about what we don't like about fellow board members, obviously. I don't want it to be that, but I'm just saying I feel what you're feeling here because I feel the same way. I feel vastly disappointed. I feel like we could be so much more, but certain people want to retain control and limit what topics we are and are not allowed to talk about. And as I said, you may have listened to that recent Instagram live I did. I love doing the Instagram lives. They're actually pretty cool. And I was talking about, if we limit our topics to only LGBTQIA and only abortion, there's only so much to talk about. Because we
Right.
agree that abortion is
Why would we
wrong.
talk about that in a group chat? That's also what I don't get. Like, we already all agree on that.
Yeah,
Like, what are we gonna like constantly send messages with abortion is murder? Yeah, I know. What
right.
is that?
Yeah,
And it's not like I
exactly.
want to necessarily like debate people. It's not necessarily a debate chat, but like people should be free to comment and say whatever they want. Like
Yeah,
someone not naming any names or whatever, but like someone has gone in the chat in the past and been like, I'm feeling really depressed. Other people have gone in the chat and been like, I need prayers. Other people have been
yeah,
in the chat like, it's just like random stuff. It's a chat. Like we're supposed to be like a
exactly.
family.
There's
Why I
nothing
don't
wrong with that. What you've
yeah.
done with that chat, is actually you built a community, and these things, well, they don't really have to be built. They are just organic. They are just naturally generating things to happen. When you just have a group of people who have a common bond, whether it's being pro-life or whether it's playing chess or whatever the case, when people they all have some basic agreement, then they can learn to about other people who are different than them. And they can all discuss all these things. I found it fascinating. I found it fascinating reading the chat. It was just kind of one of those things I would try to do some every day. I would get on Instagram and just read the chats and like, this is interesting. These people are so fun. So I love it. And then
Right.
when we had a board member who wanted to shut that down, I got angry. I got really, really angry. Had to do Instagram live, because I won't stand for that. And if we have to delete that and eliminate that community, then I resign. That bottom line, I'll just resign because I don't want that to happen. I support freedom of speech, and I think we I think, but the one more thing I do want to say about the board, because I would like to get on to some other topics in general that isn't all RLPA focused. You know what I'm saying? Just because
Yeah.
it's depressing. But
Yeah,
what I
like I
found,
mean, if I could say some things about that, it's like I don't I feel like it makes sense to like that you're like, if they shut this down, I'd want to resign. Like I kind of feel that I part of me like hopes that nobody ends up resigning and that we just all work it out. But the other part of me is genuinely like it might be better for the organization if we have some growing pains and move in one direction or another.
yeah,
Now, in my head is I hope that those growing pains go in a way of becoming more an activist group, a group fighting for liberation, etc., and being able to be more intersectional. But if that doesn't happen and I'm one of the people who ends up like leaving or getting kicked out or whatever happens, I think at the end of the day, I just don't think it's good how it is. I think that RPLA has huge potential. I think it's a great group. I think it's really important that a group like that exists. I think that we are falling incredibly short. And I unfortunately think the reason we're falling short is our current configuration of board members. Um, and that is not to be an attack on any one particular person, any two particular people, any three, whatever. It's just the current group of board members is not able to move in any direction other than keeping it steady. Um, and it's unfortunate. I think we need to sit down as a board and discuss what we want our group to be doing and what our goals are for the next 6 months, next year, next 3 months, whatever. Like have a like short-term goal, long-term goals, figure out what our end goal is, like what do we want to be in the pro-life movement, like specifically, not just we're all LGBT and we're all pro-life. Like that's
Mm.
very surface level. And I feel like we've
Yeah,
never, even though this around for what, 20 years or something, like I feel like there's never been anything more than that surface level. And if so be it, if that's what you want is a surface level group like that, to me that sounds like a social club. It
right.
doesn't sound like a
And it sounds
like, and
like
it's not,
a
I'm
really
not
bad
interested
social
in
club too, because I feel like we could go so much deeper, so much deeper. And I found
Mhm.
it particularly disturbing that we couldn't even come to an agreement that we could have a position that we support gay marriage as the Rainbow Pro-Life Alliance.
Right.
The fact that we couldn't
Mhm.
all even agree
Yep.
on that, I don't know. I don't see why that would be a controversial thing. I really don't get it.
Yeah, and I feel like most of the board, if not the whole board, but I think the whole board, to be honest, personally agrees that gay marriage should be legal, even if it's like, even if they have religious views on it or whatever. I feel
Yeah.
like the whole board believes it should be legal, like from the government. So like nobody wants to vote on it because they think of we're gonna turn away donors or we're gonna be whatever it may be, and it's like I don't
I
care
don't think
about
there's
turning away.
evidence of that. Like, I don't think there's
I don't,
evidence
yeah,
of
that
that.
too. That too,
You
that I
know,
don't think there's evidence of
I
that, but I
feel
also am like, I
yeah,
don't care. Like, let's turn away donors. Like, as I said earlier, this is like the org needs the growing pains and it's gonna suck. We're gonna lose donors, we're gonna lose support, but we're gonna get to a spot that's better. Where we're at now isn't doing anything. Like we do nothing. Period. The only thing we do is have a group chat, have the board meetings once a month, if that even counts. Like, I don't really think that counts, to be honest. And then we have the once a month, like all member chats that, like, I don't think are very well attended.
not
Um,
not really.
and that's, yeah, and that's kind of it that we do, period. Once in a while, we have a tabling event where we send someone somewhere, which is great. But all in all, we don't really do anything. And it's
Yeah,
like, I want to do something with this. I want to take this further. And for me, I'm at the point that I'm just debating, is this a good use of my time? And I think if we're not going to sit down and figure out where we want to be and not try to please everyone, but instead do what's best for the group, then we're not going to get anywhere. I think we need to sit down
yeah,
and have a real serious reality check and
yeah,
be like, it's 2024. This group was started in the 90s, or the 2000s, whatever it was. I think it was the late 90s. But yeah, I think it was 97. Anyways, we need to have a serious reality check and be like, yeah, at the beginning, sure, it was we're LGBT and we're pro life. Let's have a group about it. But like,
yeah,
this is a lot longer on the road. What is our end goal? Is that literally our only goal? Because I'm perfectly fine leaving the board if that's our only goal. I don't actually
yeah,
care.
right.
But if we want to have a real role in the pro life movement, we want to actually do things. We want to have a social media presence. We want to potentially get to a point where we have at least one person working for us, like as opposed to just volunteers. Like there isn't a single pro life group that has 100% volunteers that's doing mainstream stuff. Like there's a lot of like smaller pro life groups that kind of just
Hmm.
run themselves and whatever. But like Hal has staff, Survivors has staff, like Pro Life San Francisco has staff, like Love Life has staff, like
Yeah.
Students for Life, obviously, like the big ones, obviously, but like all these
Well,
random groups I can think of all have
what
staff.
you
Like
said,
you need one person.
yeah, well, what you said about growing pains couldn't be more accurate. And let me put it this
Yeah.
way: the Rainbow Pro Life Alliance needs to come out of the closet, and it's kind of like
Mhm.
coming out gay or coming out transgender, because there is that growing pains. There's what you lose to become what you really are, what you're becoming, you know. And I feel like they're so held back. The Rainbow Pro Life Alliance is so in the closet, and this is ironic. They're afraid to have anything public. They're afraid to touch on these controversial issues. And I just, I'm not afraid. And I don't think you are either. And I feel like if they wouldn't stop, if they weren't preventing you, you could really take it far. And I actually, I have something in mind. I think we should talk about. I feel like we should talk about our pro life story. And I also would like to ask you about your conversion to Christianity, if you don't mind. I'd like to learn about that too, because I feel like religion is a very important element in a person's personal ethics, and I feel like that can drive them in their particular way with something. And I know that we're not all going to agree in an organization or as a society on everything, but I think every person should have a chance to tell their story and their point of view. And unfortunately, there's just not enough talking about certain things, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I totally, yeah. Um, I feel like if I had a magical button where I could just do whatever I want and get things to where I want them to be, I feel like there'd be a lot different happening in terms of RPLA. But yeah, we can definitely talk more generally about that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to ask me questions or what do you want? Yeah,
Yeah,
I
sure.
don't know.
Why don't we take turns? I ask you a question, you ask me a question, and we get something a little less depressing, but something more generic that doesn't have to be all about RLPA and what and the problems we've been noticing. But yeah, first
Well,
I'd just like to ask you how did you convert to Christianity? How what were you before, and how did you become a Christian?
yeah, I kind of feel like I was actually talking about this at church like a week ago, when I had like my interview for membership. So I'm probably gonna be a member of my church now. But I kind of feel like I like kind of reverted, if that makes sense. Because when I was like a teenager, I definitely was a Christian. Like I got baptized when I was like I think 12, I think I was 2005, so I think I was 12. Um and I got baptized with like submerged, like the typical like Baptist church way. Um and I like definitely like went to church on my own. My parents weren't even taking me, like my dad was an atheist. It was kind of like I genuinely did believe, you know. Um, but when I became like a later teenager, like when I was like 16, 17, whatever, it feels like the way things around me were going, like the way the world was, and just, you know, the temptation, I guess, to just be like a normal person as opposed to a Christian, if that makes sense. I don't know. I mean, not
Huh.
that Christians aren't normal, but that's kind of like
I know
it's
what you
like
mean,
kind of
though.
I just need to um be like everyone else, and I need to make friends, and I need to find this and do that and whatever. It just kind of like slowly got me to a point where like I didn't actually like believe anymore. Like I just was so entwined with like my life as opposed to like what God has done for me, you know what I mean? And so I was definitely an atheist for like my 20s. And then what happened was I became a pro-life activist. So there's like a long story. I was dating, I'll go not super long back, but so then that fast forward like 10 years from what I just stopped talking about. I was dating this guy that I met in the animal rights movement. So I was already like a full-time activist, but mostly focusing on animals at this point. And with lack of a better way to say it, he kind of just was an asshole. So when we broke up, I don't know, I don't need to dive into it, but like when we broke up, I was incredibly devastated. I thought that we would be together for a long time, and I kind of just needed a little bit of like separation, I guess. So I didn't really want to like spend all my time in animal rights circles, knowing that like he would probably be there and like we all had the same friends and all that stuff. I had been pro life for a very long time. I pretty much since I learned what abortion was in like third, fourth grade, whatever it was. Um, so like, but I didn't really know that anything was happening. Around the same time, somehow, either POW or Pro Life SF did a rescue and got arrested. And I had never seen anything like that before. I had It just popped up on my, like, Facebook news feed, if I'm not even mistaken. I think it was just I was scrolling on Facebook, and I saw that, and I immediately was like, "I need to do that." Like, I'm gonna get in touch with them, like, that sounds like something I can spend my time doing, like, I thought pro-lifers just stood on the sidewalk and yelled at people, you know? The stereotypical, like, thing that nobody even does, but, like,
Yeah,
for some thinks they do. Um,
yeah.
so
Well, it's
so
interesting though, because see, here's the thing is I grew up being taught Christianity. It was all I knew. And my mom also homeschooled me too. And the first and most important subject was the Bible. And we had Christian, homeschool materials with the Bible. So I was learning the Bible from my earliest days, back before my memory even goes. And yet,
Mhm.
I think what I found to be so disturbing is that there's people who call themselves Christians, and yet, well, they're complete jerks, and they're nothing like what Jesus taught people to do. And then, of course, I have
Mhm.
my own questions, and there's just stuff about the Bible, see the contradictions and things that I personally have a problem with. And then, there is the whole element of being transgender and gay and that kind of thing, and how does a person resolve that? And that's something I've been trying to study for a long time. In fact, reading books and trying to figure out a lot of different things, but I think what happened with me is a lot of things started falling apart in my teen years because I remember I was praying. I was at the creek. I used to go to the woods where there was a creek and everything where I used to live. I was like 14 years old and I was screaming at God for not making me a girl. And so it was weird. I was obviously transgender. That was all I thought about for a long time. And so I would always yell at God about things I didn't like in the Bible, or that He put me in a male body instead of female body, which I knew I was meant to be. So I had my own problems. And so I was like a Christian, but basically thinking, well, God's an idiot. But then I realized that hey, that's what people think about me. People think I'm an idiot too. And I'm just gonna say there's a lot that I don't understand. There's a lot that none of us understand about other people. And I think the same is true of God. There's so many questions I have, but I'm not afraid to ask the questions. And there's a lot of people, including in certain churches, that they discourage questions. Like if you ask certain questions, oh, blasphemy, don't question God, you're evil, for asking a question. And you probably are familiar with that too. Like you're just not allowed to ask certain questions. And then, then of course the whole animal thing, well, like what? Did God really order people to kill animals in ritual sacrifices? I like to think not, because I don't believe in animal killing. So you see, I had my own beliefs, ethics. I had my own pro-life beliefs. I had my animal beliefs about being pro-life for the animals, being vegan. And so I just kind of avoided Christianity like the plague. I was kind of like our LPA is avoiding topics. That's what I did. I was avoiding it like the plague, and I didn't think about it, didn't talk about it. But I'm just like, now I guess you could say I'm not as afraid as I used to be of topics like that, you could say. And I like to talk about it. I like to learn people's stories of how they came to be where they are. And we're all evolving and changing. It's not like you have to be the same thing you were 20 years ago. I mean, children become adults, tadpoles become frogs, people change and become better and better versions of themselves, or worse, as the case may be. But do you have any questions for me?
no, well, yeah, I'll probably think of a question, but let me finish my story though.
Okay.
so so when I became a pro-life activist, I was still an atheist, and then I started organizing with pro-life SF, and we wanted to do like a week of action. So we had like an Airbnb, we had like people in town, and I don't know if you've met like either AJ or Tim or Mason. Mason's pro-life Spider-Man, AJ's I think with White Rose now, AJ Hurley,
White
and
Rose.
Tim is Fibers. White Rose Resistance.
Oh, the
Oh,
nonviolence. That's so ironic.
Yeah. But anyways, so they were all at the Airbnb and I walk in and they're like sitting around the table reading the Bible and I thought they were trying to like play a trick on me. Like I had never like saw anybody read the Bible before in my life besides opening it up in church, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um so like from there, I mean that's kind of like what started it, I guess, and then they just encouraged me to read the Bible and like when I was reading the gospels, like just those first 4 books of the New Testament, like by the time I got through those, I pretty much like I don't know what it was, it just clicked again. So then that's kind of like my becoming a Christian story, I guess, is just having friends that encouraged me to read and reading myself and just yeah. So I don't know, that's kind of like I guess the story. There's like a longer story version, but the short 2 sentence version is friends told me to read the Bible. So I did.
Yeah, it is interesting. So it sounds like you had a background of Christianity, and then you kind of forgot about it for a while, and then kind of went back to it, sort of. Just to summarize.
Sort of. Sort of, yeah, and it was like 100% like I would say I was an atheist in my 20s. Like I genuinely in most of my 20s anyways, I like genuinely did not believe that God existed. But it doesn't make sense to me to think that he doesn't exist anymore. Like it just it's pretty obvious that there has to be something and like even when you're talking about like how the world was created or whatever. Like I had this argument with one of my atheist friends the other day, and he's like, the Big Bang, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, but what made those first particles that exploded? And he's like, I don't know. They were just always there. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And I was even still like, he said, well, then what created God? And I was like, I don't know, but it makes a lot more sense that God was always there than random particles were always there. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. I'm just like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, and here's
But either
what's
way, I'm just
yeah.
like, it doesn't make logical sense to me that like a random chain of events just created everything around us. Um, I think science can try and explain things that happened long, long time ago and look at through it through a lens of modern it, like what's happening today and like kind of expecting things to extrapolate in a direction.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't think that's realistic. I genuinely don't think that the world took billions of years to form. I think that that's just how we're interpreting it through today's lens, and that really God just kind of did things in stages. Um, yeah. So I don't know. Anyways, rambling, but yeah, it
No,
just
no,
doesn't
it's
make sense to me.
interesting though. It's
It's
fun.
not a God.
It's fun to
Yeah.
think about. And see, here's the thing about it is I'm actually not all too concerned about with the origins of the world or the universe. I'm actually not
There,
that
I could
concerned
honestly care
because
less.
because it's not doesn't have any practical application to my life. Like,
Right.
how
Right.
what evolved from what or how many billions of years something took to happen, it doesn't matter to me today. And so why is it such a big
Doesn't
deal?
like yeah, like, are there aliens? Like, who cares? Like, I don't know, it doesn't affect me, like, I think there might be, but I also don't
Yeah.
care either way, like, I don't know, like,
Well,
there's a lot of things
until
that, like,
we
I think
learn to
we're
respect,
curious
yeah,
about.
but until we learn
Yeah.
to
I
respect
think
the
there's a
forms
lot of
of
things.
life on this planet, we don't need to worry about the ones in other planets.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it's just humans are strange creatures. I feel like there's a lot of things that we just question that don't matter. Like, it genuinely doesn't matter. Even like, is the earth flat or round? Like, I like to pretend to be a flat earther just for fun, but like, I feel like the evidence is pretty clear that it's round. But either way, it doesn't matter. What does it matter if the earth is flat or round? Who cares? Like, can we focus on something that's relevant? Like, there's so
I
many
like
things that
I
I'm just
like
like,
to
who cares?
I like to think of myself as a flat earther because I play Minecraft and the world really is flat in Minecraft.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't matter. Like I look out an airplane window, it looks pretty flat to me, but like I don't actually care. Like who knows? Like it's
Yeah,
probably round. Like I'm probably delusional, but I don't care if it's round or flat. Who cares?
we can concern ourselves with what's practical for us. But yeah, people
Right.
do argue about completely unnecessary things. And what I think is problematic is particularly when people they try to shoehorn pro-life activism, they try to use that as a way to force their entire political or religious system. Like that, when people
Mhm.
say, well, you can't be pro life without being a Christian, so then they want to teach their particular brand of Christianity, and then you have to accept their entire religious dogma before their pro life framework makes sense. And I'm like, well, if I feel like a stronger pro life position can be grounded whether you're religious or atheist, honestly. I feel like there
Yep.
is a right and wrong that we can recognize without having to agree on the Big Bang or whatever, flat or round Earth, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think the other problem is if we want to isolate abortion from every other issue, we need to just start calling ourselves anti-abortion. I can't stand the pro-life label personally, unless you're a consistent life ethic pro-lifer. And now the problem is we have people who say they're consistent pro-life, they say they're pro-life for the whole life, blah blah blah, but they're clearly not because they're sitting there supporting genocide. And then they're like, that has nothing to do with being pro life. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's not pro life to bomb children. Like, I don't, like, I wish we would just start saying anti abortion if you're not actually pro life. And there's nothing wrong with being anti abortion. Like, I am anti abortion. Like, we all are. Like, that's the reality of the situation. Um, but when we call ourselves Rainbow Pro Life Allowance, for example, or Students for Life, or um, whatever, they're giving another organization that has for life in it, or pro life, or whatever. Point is,
Yeah,
like, when we start like saying pro life as what we are, we need to mean that. We need to mean that we are pro life for the whole life, that we are like going to care about life, not
yeah,
that we only care about one thing. And the intersectionality is super important. How are we going to have an organization that's like an LGBT and anti-abortion organization, for example, like, or
yeah,
whatever it may be, and not
absolutely.
be intersectional, at least in one way or another. Like, I don't think we need to talk about every single issue that ever exists, like just right off the bat. But like when things come up, we should try to be at the forefront. We should try to have a point, you know?
Well, yeah, see, here's the thing is like I said in my text, I care about a consistent life ethic. Like that was kind of one of the things that
Mhm.
I wanted to talk about because like I do want to be consistent. And you realize that's what forced me to go vegan then, don't you? Like I was 25, I didn't know what a vegan
Well,
was. Like, yeah, I gotta tell you, I was 25 years old, I didn't even know what a vegan was. First time I ever saw the word vegan in my life, because like I said, I don't get out much, was in the uncensored abortion debate group on Facebook years ago. And
okay.
somebody asked me if I was vegan, and I'm like, I don't think so. What's a vegan? And then they said, well, then you're full of shit. And I'm like, oh, am I? What? Okay, so what do you think I did? I got on Amazon and typed in the word vegan, and oh, I read why we should go vegan by Magnus Binding. Like I all I needed was the word so I could do my research and find out about veganism. And then I understood what they meant. And they could have done a better job of communicating, but then I understood. I'm pro-life and I'm against killing of the unborn. But and now that I know that just by buying these products, I'm literally paying for the killing of animals, and I'm surprised it didn't occur to me sooner. Um, but then I'm like, well, they're right. If I'm going to be pro life, I have to be pro life for the animals as well. And that was actually what caused me to go vegan because I'm like, well, I had to make a choice. I either had to be consistently pro life and for the other animals as well as the humans, or I had to turn into some kind of pro choice person. And I wasn't prepared to do that. So they tried to discount my pro-lifism for not being vegan, not knowing that they ended up causing me to just go vegan and be more consistent. So it backfired, whatever they were trying to do, because I care about consistency and honesty and transparency. And I want to have if I'm going to have a opinion about different issues of life and death, and whether that's war, euthanasia, capital punishment, abortion, animal rights, whatever, I need to be consistent across the board. And that is a path that not many people are prepared to take that journey. They're not prepared to try to aim for consistency and make it everything fit all together. And my friend Jamie, actually, I have a British friend. I have a friend who lives in England named Jamie, and he hosts the Minecraft server. It's fun, but he went vegan because of me. Because we did a lot of podcasts together. I used to be a host of several podcasts that are on iTunes and everything. Like it was a big old ordeal. And he and some other people went vegan just because of my influence, which is great. Um, but he said to me one day that I was very consistent in my views, and I said, well, that I told him, well, that's because I have to be. Because if my views aren't consistent and I'm saying one thing here and another thing there, then they can't both be true. So something's false if something is not matching up. And that's what I do is I try to make everything fit together. I try to fit, my views about being pro-life on different topics. I want them to match. I need to match my religious beliefs with being transgender, for instance, too. I need to make it all fit together like the pieces of a puzzle. I care about consistency. But anyway, sorry if I'm rambling, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
What what do you think we could be doing? Oh my gosh, this cat is so annoying. To make my cat more annoying. Just kidding. Let me think of a real sorry. What do you think we could be doing as like the pro-life movement in general to be more consistent? Like what do you think is like the top pressing issues that like the pro-life community as a whole needs to either get behind or whatever the other option may be? Either get behind or don't, I guess. But what do you think would be like some of those top issues that we really need to bring into the mainstream pro-life movement?
Well, I really do think that there's so much more that needs to be done, with due to, jobs and economically and discrimination against pregnant people. There's all kinds of things that need to be done to make it more feasible if we expect people to have the children to make it more possible for them to do so, obviously, because that's the number one reason that people are saying, well, I can't keep this baby, I can't afford to take care of it. And that's a valid complaint. That's a valid complaint because it's true. And that's a problem because we all are in trouble financially. That's the way things are going for everyone. And I think that is one of the biggest things that is not being talked about enough. Because, you know, the one of the most supposedly pro-life organizations is the Catholic Church, and they have a lot of money. We know that, you know. And so they probably could do more than they are to help people, but there needs to be people at all levels, people in politics and in the legal profession, and whatever local area they are, in every possible way to have more pro-life policies, and to promote that in companies, cities, states, federally, worldwide. There's so much that needs to be done, and trying to ban abortion, if that's what you want to do, fine, but just doing that without doing anything about all of the different causes that lead to it, and
Right.
yeah, and I also would like to add one more thing to that answer, and this is something that's kind of unique about me. But I really think that we live in like this sexually liberated porn culture that's just quite frankly disgusting. If you get what I'm saying,
Yep.
because we have
Yep.
this time where people are just like, just casual sex, pornography everywhere, people acting like sex is the highest good. Unfortunately, the result of that lifestyle is an
It's
increase in,
selfishness.
yeah, it's selfish. It leads to increases in unwanted pregnancy, sexually transmitted disease, and I'm kind of the anti-hero, if you will, when it comes to this topic because I've just become so repulsed by it that I just vowed to never have sex, named myself Chastity, and even got myself castrated. I'm just so weird. I think I'm so against it because I've reacted badly to this society, this culture. You can't escape it. You can't watch any show unless it's like My Little Pony or something to escape from this world. And I feel okay. It sounds weird to say, but I can think of myself as, I don't know, conservative. I like to think of myself as having old fashioned values where people actually had
Yeah.
committed marriages where they were committed for life and people had some commitment, they had some loyalty, and that we didn't have this dating and hookup culture like people have now. I feel like people have gone nuts. And I feel like abortion, especially at the in the numbers, and even Roe versus Wade in the first place happening was a result of that culture already starting. And I don't even know if it's possible to ever go back to the way it was before. And I'm not saying everything needs to go back to the way it was in the 50s or 60s. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that because they were killing the gays and stuff like that anyway. But I'm just saying that people have gone insane, and what we're dealing with in regards to social media and the way people are arguing about things, and the way that people are so crazy sexually, and that feminism has now become synonymous with abortion. That's very, very weird, but it's a result of people having no traditional values, nothing to stand
Yeah.
on, nothing.
And that's the thing too, like I talk to a lot of people, like most of my friends, like locally anyways, are like progressives and like not really that religious. Um, and like even when I talk to them, I feel like a lot of them recognize that like the way that like it used to be in terms of relationships and in terms of things like that, I feel like a lot of them recognize that like things would be better with just a slightly less of hookup culture. I feel like not everyone, but I feel like a lot of them recognize that, and that it's just it's also like people are so afraid to like worry about other people's lives and other people's decisions. And I think that's kind of valid. Like I don't necessarily want to like legislate that people like abstain until marriage, or that like people should get married younger, or like a lot of things that I just think should happen. I don't want to legislate any of that.
Right.
And I think that's fair. And I definitely don't think, I think there's issues from a religious standpoint with people sleeping around. Like, I don't like just from a religious standpoint, but from like a personal standpoint, I mean, I don't actually care. Like, personally, though, I just know that it's like a sin, you know what I mean? But like I don't actually care what people are doing. Um, I just think the world is lying to a lot of us and has been for a long time. And I think you're right that like around the time Roe v. Wade was introduced is probably around the time that this kind of like really started picking up speed. And it's that we live in a society, and we have for decades, that values instant personal gratification over a long-term commitment and this like familial bond, which is essential. Like human beings are not designed to be by themselves. We're not designed to like live life for ourselves. You can be very happy alone, like lots of people are, and lots of people are, I mean, they die never getting married, and some people are upset about that, like as they're dying, and other people are perfectly fine with it. I feel like a big chunk of the people who are perfectly fine with it are lying to themselves personally. But I mean, that's totally fair. Live your life the way you want. It's just it gets to a point where it's like we have so far pushed away the values of marriage, commitment, of building a family together, building a life together, of having someone to rely on, that people are left to rely on themselves. And when you rely on yourself, you are not able to um, fully understand where your place is in society. When you rely on yourself, you're just you are the center of your world. Your gratification, your life, your goals, your ambitions, even if you're a very down to earth person, are the center of your thought process. And instead, we need to go back toward at least in the way go back at least in the way of um, prioritizing connections with others and prioritizing building things together, prioritizing like finding a person that you're going to decide through thick and thin, no matter what happens, I'm gonna like spend my life with you and I'm going to do things with you. We're gonna have goals together and work toward a place in society. And I think it's just I feel like people have forgotten like how important that is in the fight of like you're young, you can wait, you can do that later, you can do this. No, you can't. Like I mean, biologically, you straight up can't after a certain point. Um, if you're able to have children anyways, but it's like
Right. It doesn't
there's
apply
a
to some of
literal
us,
point.
obviously.
Yeah, it doesn't apply to me, but I mean like it applies to most people that like there
Right.
is a literal biological point at which you either won't be able to or it's going to be incredibly difficult to start a biological family. And you can just push it off, push it off, push it off. You can say it's not important, like it's not something I want. But at some point, the option's not even there anymore. And I feel like a lot of people, and it's obvious through IVF, like the IVF rates, it is very obvious that people do regret that they didn't think they wanted children when they were younger. People get to like their 40s and they're like, oh, I really want a child and this is not working. And they spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on IVF, which is just commodifying children
Right.
and like a
Yeah.
whole entire industry that's based off of selling kids to people.
I
It's
know.
absurd, absurd. And I could dive into IVF, but the point is, like, our connections with one another are so much more important than the world wants to make you believe.
Hmm.
Like, we are here, like, I'm just going to speak in a religious term for a minute because, like, that's just how it be. But, like, God didn't put us here to, like, have fun and live your life for yourself and do what you want. Like, that's not, He gave us free will, but we're here to, like, provide for society, provide for others, to follow God and to get other people to do the right thing and to look out for one another and protect one another and share this space with one another. Like God didn't tell us to go like be be the best you and follow your heart. Like it don't say that anywhere in the Bible. That's not a thing. It's we're here to be like fishers of men. We're here to bring men to God. We're here to like bring people to the Lord, bring people to um, a better place in their life, a better place together. Like we're here to work together to do the right thing and to move in society and work as a team. And people just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think part of the problem, I think part of the problem is social media. Let's be honest, to a certain extent, because even though it can be a very good thing, I feel like you also see the very worst of people. You see the worst of people. You only see a tiny sliver of their true personality. There's so much anonymity, and we miss having that just real face to face communication, like what we're doing now, just to be able to actually talk about things rather than just a Twitter post of 140 characters, whatever. There needs to be such a much more deep connection with people. And I'm not even talking so much about, people and their connections like family and marriage and stuff. But I'm just agreeing it as a general sense, like just connections with other people are important, you know? And for most of my life, I have avoided that because people scare me. People scare me. That's a lot of them are mean, you know? So it's easy to want to just hide away from people. And that's what I've been doing for over 30 years. But then I kind of came out. What happened is I when I came out as my true self and told the world that I'm chastity, I I evolved like a Pokemon that evolved. Like I just totally evolved, and I'm like, I'm gonna be the person who's no longer afraid to talk to people. I changed entirely and became the person I always wanted to be. And now I'm not afraid to talk about things, and I'm not afraid to talk about things and admit that there's things I want, even though I can't have certain things. You know what I'm saying? It's like I can admit that I can crave certain connections with people, even though I also know it's exceptionally unlikely to. But it's good to be honest with yourself, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if there's a good Tommy Wiseau quote, I think it's like, if more if well, I want another actual quote. Hold on, I'm gonna look up the quote. We're gonna say it right.
yeah. Say it right, whatever it is. And of course, I always have my quote I say, be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.
Okay, here we go. If a lot of people love each other, the world would be a better place to live. Tommy Wiseau.
Short and to the point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
What
a
the
good quote.
world
It's true.
needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of.
But yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what we want. I feel like that's what we want. And the community, just like the chat, I think it's great, for people to just talk and about the serious, the sad, but also the funny and the silly, just to be able to relate to other people. And I feel like it does pretty well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
By the way, what's your cat's name?
Annoying.
The
But
cat's name is
no,
annoying.
I wish it would be more applicable. But Tucker is the one you just were seeing, and then Lucky, I think, is starting to make noise now.
Yeah, and the one that died is Snickers. I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too bad about that.
Snickers was good boy. He needs to be back. Like
Yeah,
he can like these cats to behave.
yeah. You love cats, don't you?
Yep, love them, hate them, annoyed by them, want them to go away, want them to come back,
That's
something like
funny.
that.
That's exactly how I feel about humans.
Yeah.
But my favorite animal is horses.
Horses are cute.
Yeah.
My favorite animal is the platypus.
Oh,
My second favorite animal is a manatee, and I really like squirrels.
yeah. Squirrels are fun, but I think they're ADHD.
Yeah, they're cute.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's interesting though. I'm trying to think if there was more questions I had. Actually, I was wondering about this. You said in the chat about your dream to be a trad wife, a traditional wife. Did you want to talk about that, or is that too personal?
No, I mean it's fine. Yeah, so I have always, I don't know, it's just something I've always wanted to do. I think that it comes from a place of I want to have children and I want to or adopt children, I guess. I want to adopt children and I want to give them the best life that I possibly can. And I think that the best life that a child can have is spending time with their parents before their parents go away. I think that homeschooling is very, very beneficial for children. I think that there is an argument that the social aspects of public school is good for kids, but the rest of it really isn't. And like if you homeschool, you're able to keep your kids at home and you're able to let them learn from you. And not only that, but like really format their education tailored to them in a way. Like we're not all the same cookie cutter people. So I think it's really important to me, if I was to take the time to adopt children, that I do the best that I can. I do better than my parents did. And I think that homeschooling is part of that. I just feel very strongly that homeschooling or unschooling or some kind of more time with your parents as opposed to abandoning them all day. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just feel like I could do more. And I feel like it's something that's important. So then that comes into play when I'm talking about like the relationship dynamic that I want. Because in order to homeschool, you really need the roles in the relationship. You need someone, and I see this person being me, who is going to stay home with the kids, who's going to make sure the house stays clean, like run errands, go do what needs to happen, like kind of run the house. And then you need another person who's going to unfortunately be gone a good chunk of time and work and get money to pay bills. And like we just live in a society that you need money. Um, if we
Yeah.
lived in a society that you didn't need money, I would probably say it's not really not necessary for you to work full time. Just kind of go get what you need type thing, provide in the way. But we live in a society where this is money and where you do this by working. And it's just the reality of the situation. I think that I would love to be the person who has dinner ready. Like, I want to serve my family. I want to make meals. I want to clean the house. I want to drive people to where they need it. Like, I want to drive my kids to like soccer practice. I want to like take them on field trips. I want to like go to the beach. I want to like spend most of my time with my kids. Like, I also like um when I was growing up, like I did have so I definitely did not grow up in like a traditional type situation. Like my dad was kind of like a single father for most of it. I stayed with my mom as a single mother for like 1 or 2 years when I was really young, but for the most part, I was raised by a single father. And the best memories I have are like doing things with him, like going camping, going and doing like this, that, or the other thing. And even still, like a lot of times going to hang out at his friends' houses. Like I really like going and hanging out with my dad's friends. And it wasn't like usually there was some other kids around or there was like something for me and my brother to do while they were hanging out. But I thought that was cool. And like now that I'm on the adult side of things, I'm like, I don't know, like I still think I can have like some time for myself where I go and hang out with my friends and just bring my kids with me. You know what I mean? Like I think that makes sense while additionally spending as much time with them as I can, you know?
Yeah.
So that it kind of goes from the like thinking of how I want to adopt children is where it kind of comes from. And like realizing that the lifestyle I want in order to spend that much time with my kids requires having a partner who's going to want to work and pay bills and provide financially. Um, so the flip side of that is if they're going to be providing financially, I really do want to do everything for them like that I can. Like I want to make sure things are clean. I want to be doing that like housewife role. So it's kind of the whole dynamic of like I want to homeschool my kids that drives me toward like I want to be like a trad wife. You know what I mean? It's kind
Right.
of like
Yeah.
that
It
connection.
Well, I think it's
Logistically, it
refreshing.
just kind of is what it
I think it's
is.
actually really cool to see someone of your age, as a young person, to admit that they want that lifestyle, which most people would probably not admit that because that's not what's in, that's not what's been happening. It's it's more been happening to just live like the way most young people are these days, with no commitment and no direction and not caring about relationships. And they certainly wouldn't care about whether they were raising children right. And I love what you said about homeschooling. As a homeschooled child, I approve this message. You know, homeschooling is great. And you
Yeah.
know, when my mom homeschooled me, she did what she thought was best. And let's be honest, I was bullied a lot back when I was in elementary school. And when we moved to Missouri, my mom was able to legally homeschool me because there different states have different laws about homeschooling, and in a lot of places you're not even allowed to homeschool. And I think what's been happening is the government has been, you know, pushing more and more the economy into a situation where all the men and women all have to work, and then the government takes over brainwashing their children. The parents no longer get to teach their children anything, and public school is a mess. And kids aren't usually learning the important things they need to learn anyway. Like they waste so much time with algebra and they're not even learning basic life skills and not learning how to actually read and write, you know? And it's like, I do think not everybody can homeschool, but I do think for those who can, it's a great thing. And I should know. And I often say that the reason that I accomplished so much is because my mom did give me a good foundation in some of the things that really mattered, you know. But I think it's admirable your idea about adopting children and homeschooling. I mean, that's just so cool, and that's just so similar to how I actually grew up because I grew up with a single mother, you know. That's how it was with
Mhm.
me. And my mom is all I have, you know. And I'm it's very interesting because the only person in my life is my mom. You know, all my other family is either people I don't talk to on my dad's side of the family or my sister who's in Minnesota. And so I get sad sometimes when I think about how when my mom dies, I have nobody. Like I literally have nobody, and it's just me by myself in Lisa, Missouri. And what will happen to me? You know, I'm sad about that, and it's not my choice. That's just my lot in life. That's the way it's happened. And I'm a person who works all the time, pretty much. I work full time at Walmart, and then I'm doing online school too. And that's a whole funny story how that happened. Before I got the job at Walmart, I joined Full Sail University. I'm just like, you know what? I want to go to school. I want to earn my bachelor's degree, whatever, you know. And I'm just driven for success because I feel like I've thrown myself into my work because that's all I have. When I have no social life and I have like no friends, it's just like I'm just driven to succeed at something because apparently I have failed at relationships in society, you know?
Yeah. How did your mom so she was like a single mother and homeschooled you? How did she manage to do that?
Well, that's the part that's so
That's
sad.
impressive.
That's the part about it that's so sad is that for the most part, our only income was SSI, supplemental security income. So basically, I grew up always being poor. Only the money that we had from the government, living in low income housing, high crime neighborhoods, not having enough food, relying on food pantries. I remember how I would go to the creek and I would, you know, eat random plants and grass and stuff like that just because you know other food costs money we didn't have there wasn't enough food and I just thought hey I'm just going to go eat things in nature. So what happened with me early on and there's also the fact that my dad didn't really feed me or take care of me back when I did visit him when I was a child of Minnesota. You know, so I was a person who, you know, went without, like materially, physically, I often didn't have food, or even if I did, I was afraid to eat it because then, well, after I eat the food, then what do I have? So I grew up in poverty. I grew up not having anything. And it's kind of funny because like we had low income housing and I used to just go down to the woods and play in the water and the mud stuff. But what was funny is people were always giving me their old computers. People would give me old computers back in the 90s and stuff that didn't do anything. They didn't know anything about. So I never had a lack of a computer, even though I never paid for any of them. That was what was so weird about it. So I found I'm so autistic that I do well with technology. I do good with video games. I do good with computers. And now I have all these computer skills. I published several books that nobody reads. So I'm like a super talent at technology, but I've also grown up relatively poor. And now I finally am able to have a full-time job. And my employment history is so sad because I wasn't even able to get anyone to hire me for a job until I was 25, and Hy-Vee finally hired me. And that's sad. It's been so hard for me to even get employment. And I think I know why. I think part of it is it, I'm so autistic, and that people, they just know there's something off about me that they don't like because I'm not like them. And people use the autism even subconsciously to discriminate against me. I thought I was incapable of working a job, but I proved them wrong. I've worked for, I think, only 4 companies in my entire adult life. And now I work at Walmart, which is actually the best job I've had so far, but I work all the time and then I do school on top of it. So I don't have much time for anything except maybe once I'm done with my schoolwork and I still have any time at all, I like to play chess or Tetris and do podcasts, you know? But I'm one of those people who, hey, I work all the time and that's my life. And that's not what I want. That's just my lot in life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. It's been great to talk about these things though. It really has been.
yeah, has. I'm very sleepy at this point.
Yeah, I get it, but I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me about all this because really that when there's all the board members and we're having meetings as a group of people, we don't really get to hash these things out to really talk about these deep issues of culture and religion and society and relationships and all these things. And I see that's what I'm about. I like talking about these deep things and not just a shallow social club. I want real connection, you know? So it's just hard to find the time, but I'm glad we finally had a talk. Finally, glad we did a podcast or meeting, whatever you call it, just because it's great to have someone to actually just talk to about regular,
Yeah,
real life, everyday stuff.
yeah, I agree. It was a nice, yeah, it was nice talking to you. I think we should do this again at
Yeah.
some point.
I mean, even if we only do it maybe once a month, I'd like to do it more than that, but even if we could just, once a month set up something just so that we can talk sometimes like this, it's a lot of fun. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is good. Yeah, I like it. Hopefully you got what you needed out of it.
Yeah, I like it. I just like it that we have this. So, yeah, I hope that the Zoom recording turned out all right. I really hope. But even if not, I'll remember this. But I sure hope it turned out so that you can listen to it again. And who knows, maybe it can even become inspiration for future writing or maybe some collaborations on Instagram. Who knows what may become of it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe there might be some good things in here if that could be like an Instagram reel.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Take little clips of different parts. Also,
Yeah.
when you edit videos, like what video software do you use? Just wondering.
Usually in-shot video editor.
InShot?
Mhm.
Never heard of
Usually.
it. Yeah. For video editing, most of the time, because when I am on my Windows 11 laptop like I am now, I just use the Microsoft Photos app. Like you can actually just trim videos down to the exact clip you want. That's what I do for most of my videos, and then I'll get them the right length, just perfect to put on Instagram or TikTok. Because I like long form videos,
I
but
do
I
it all on my
also
phone.
yeah, phones are cool too. Sometimes you can edit things on phones just fine enough. But yeah, I like having the long form videos I put on YouTube or Twitch, but then I also like having the little reels for TikTok or Instagram at just the perfect spot. And apparently, I feel like TikTok was made for chess videos. Those games where I have like the pieces moving so fast, replaying a chess game. I love doing that, adding some
Okay.
fun music. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I use for video editing, and then it just kind of looks like this on my phone, and you can like splice it or see how it kind of like I think you can kind of see how the video is actually this, and then it kind of
Oh,
expands it, puts like a little background like that.
cool.
Oh wow.
iPhone or Android?
It's probably on both, but like yeah, that's kind of just by default, it'll put it in the right orientation. This is just a random video I just picked off my newsfeed, but
Right. Yeah, I never actually learned how to edit videos on the phone. I'm kind of old fashioned, and I've got to have an actual computer and a keyboard in front of me to get anything done because I to me it's still the 90s. Like I only know how to do
yeah,
like
you can
90s.
do basic stuff. Yeah, you can do basic stuff on your phone, like just with the built-in app, but
Yeah,
you pretty much do need to download something. Like, it doesn't have to be InShot, but you need to download something because the
yeah,
functionality of like, the photos slash videos that's default on your phone is
yeah.
not as functional as you need to like make reels.
I imagine. And also, you probably haven't had a chance to look yet, but after I sent you the progress flag image, I also sent PDF files of both of my art books. It's full of pictures, so you can use any of those pictures that were in my books for anything you want. I just give you
I
blanket
saw the
permission.
email. I saw
Yeah,
the email and there was two things that wouldn't open.
yeah, so what I did is I then got PDF files because the ODT file, it only opens with Open Office or LibreOffice, which I used. All of my books were published on Linux. It was all on Linux, and I used like free and open source software, but I had to get PDF files to be able to get something that would possibly display for other people. But that way you'll be able to see the pages and pages of pictures I made and the titles I gave them. And there's some beautiful pictures like the rainbow butterfly. Oh, the butterfly. I could tell you forever about the butterfly and what it means to me personally, but I don't want to keep you. I know you're tired, but yeah, just so you know, any of those pictures are good for anything you want to do on social media, whatever anything. I just want people to use my art because I spent years making the most beautiful pictures, you know? Hmm.
Yeah, so you sent it as a PDF after the
Yeah,
initial send?
afterward, I found the PDF files of two of my art books, so you shall be able to see that. They're just full of the most beautiful pictures, a lot of geometric stuff. There's a duck and a butterfly and a horse and
Okay.
yeah. I think you'll
That
like
sounds
it.
good. I'll look into that. I'll
Yeah,
go look at it.
yeah, you can just let me know in email or whatever what you think of that because people need to see some of this beautiful stuff. It's some good stuff, and I
Mhm.
love this progress flag I'm using in my background. It's just beautiful, and the symbolism it just means so much to me.
Mhm. Well, yeah. So, I hope, yeah. Anyways, we should like, I'll definitely message you tomorrow, and try and arrange maybe in a couple weeks to meet again. And I also need to look at your stuff. Actually, maybe I shouldn't even say tomorrow because now I'm trying to think when tomorrow am I gonna have a spare second.
Yeah,
I'm
you don't
very
have to
busy
make
for the
you
next
don't have to make any
24 hours.
promises of
But
anything. I'm very
I'll make
busy
the promise
myself.
that I'll look into it, by the end of the weekend. That's more realistic.
Yeah, sure. Whenever you have time. But yeah, it's been really
Yeah,
really good, and we should totally should collab on some social media stuff. We can do
oh,
stuff.
yeah,
Is
and also, uh, I'm not as busy as I sound, but, particularly tomorrow, I have a doctor's appointment, and then I have to go to work, and then I have another appointment, and then I'm supposed to go to a bonfire, so I'm like it's like the next 24 hours are very busy. But
right.
I'll, look at
That's
the
right.
PDF
And
file, of course. I wanna see your art, like, I really do, like, that sounds really nice, so I was sad, like, I went to open it in the previous email to see what it was, and it wasn't, like, opening. I don't know if it was just my computer or whatever, so
it's
definitely
not
if
your
you sent the
computer. I
PDF.
realized I made a mistake. That file works for me with the right program, but not for most people. So
Okay, yeah, so then I will definitely take a double look. Thanks for letting me know.
okay. Well, you have a good
Hopefully the
night.
part
And
it
what?
should, like, record into your Zoom account. I think you have to, like, go to, like, zoom.com, and then it should be there.
Yeah, I still have to figure out how Zoom it really works because I know the recording will show up somewhere. So I hope it's been working
Yeah, I
well.
think
I
it's
really
in the
hope so.
website. If
Okay.
you go to, like, zoom.com and log in, there'll be, like, I think it just says my recordings or something like that.
Yeah, I hope I can figure it all out.
One, you can do these too. If you hold
Oh,
your thumbs up for at least a couple seconds, it'll do that.
oh,
Or, like,
wait.
if you raise hand.
Oh, and I have the filter, so it's a little weird. I don't know if it works for me, but my hand disappears. I glitched out. I love it. Oh, but I see it works for you. That is so cool. Zoom does some fun stuff. Even when it still shows a thumbs up even when your thumbs down. That is so neat.
Yeah, I don't know if there's, like, another thing you can do. Can I do a heart?
Oh, the heart shape.
There's gotta be something else you can do. Down
Oh,
twinkles.
also, I like to make a triangle. I love the triangle.
Mhm. I think it's just a hand up and a thumbs up, I think, but
Huh.
anyway, good
Yeah.
night. Talk
Yeah,
to you soon.
good night. Yeah, we'll do this again sometime. We'll just communicate as we're
Alright,
available.
alright. Bye.
Bye.